This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
What is happening to the Philadelphia Eagles? A little more than a week ago, they were within 41 minutes of locking up the NFC East. Now they've lost back-to-back games. Do I need to be concerned about my Super Bowl pick, the Denver Broncos? What, I hear you ask? Well, all will be explained in this week's preview show. And could we really be in for a postseason where the Chiefs, the Ravens, and Lions all miss out? The answers to those questions and more lie in the Week 14 preview show.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Hello, welcome along to the show. This is Graves on Gridiron. I'm your host, Richard Graves. And before we go any further, we will recap our overall score in picks for the season. The record stands at a somewhat disappointing, I have to say, 16-20-1. But the sign of a good team is the team that can run the table from Thanksgiving onwards. And in Thanksgiving week, we went 2-1 against the line. The Colts let us down, but the rest of the table, that was all good. So 16-20-2, I should say. We've had 2 ties this season. Never had one in the history of the show before this year, but we've got 2 now. So I'm looking to bring in a little bit of help. Post-trade deadline, if you like. There's only one person to turn to. The one, the only, Charles Dagnall.
Richard Graves, thank you so much. Now, with because I'm going to get this in before you do, and I think it's only right that I start off.
Where are you going with this? What are you trying to say?
Well, I'm thinking that I may well be the reason that the record isn't great, because my personal record, I think is 0-5-1. Is that right?
There isn't a one in the win column. You're quite right.
Yeah.
It's been a bit disappointing.
Bit. I would actually like to know that if my overall views on I might have not beaten the spreads, but I wonder if I'd got the right results in those and just my spreading was off. That said, it's not a great record to have whichever way you look at it, and I apologise if I am the main contributor to the Graves on Gridiron overall record being as poor as it is.
Well, I'm about to say that just outright wins don't count on this show.
No, so, I'm just trying to just give me something.
So it's about picking against the line. And I'll tell you this, our 2 successes in Thanksgiving week came, first of all, the Falcons and the Jets, a line of 39.5 total points for this game. I said that was rubbish right off the bat. And sure enough, sure as light follows day, they somehow, 2 poor teams contrived to go over. So chalk one up in the win column there. And then if you need to turn a skid around, look no further than the Las Vegas Raiders. Whatever they're doing back against them, Chargers were next up this week, and thankfully they more than handled it. And that was with Justin Herbert missing a few plays with his broken, is it catapartal or something like that in his hand? What do they call it this week?
Yeah, his hand. That's what they call it.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not catapartal, whatever I said it was.
Medical insight.
So Thanksgiving week is in the Bucks. There are some big storylines to come out of it. We're going to touch upon those around the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Lions. Yes, the Cowboys will be talked about in this show as well. But I do have a question for you, Charles Dagnall, and it is this. Mm-hmm. I said right at the start of the season, the Denver Broncos are my pick to go all the way, win it all. You laughed at me. But now they sit here with I think the joint best record in football. I don't have their record in front of me, but they keep winning. I know that much. But there's a number of close games that they're involved in. Here we are, 10-2, joint best record in football. And yet, I saw a great little stat that popped up only this morning. And it was headlined, the Denver Broncos are the most fraudulent 9-game win streak in league history. And the reason why it says that is because they beat the Bengals by 25. They beat the Cowboys by 20. The other 7 games, they beat the Eagles by 4, the Jets by 2, the Giants by 1, the Texans, the Raiders, the Chiefs, and the Commanders all by 3. That's 7 games in that 9-game run where there's been no more than 4 points in it. So are the Broncos for real, or do I need in December to start being a bit concerned?
It's a really good question, and there's two ways of looking at it for me as well, Richard. You look at those Kansas City Chiefs, those successful teams that they put out in Super Bowl winnings. They won a lot of one-score games, and so you can look, if you're a Denver Broncos fan, or if you have made a prediction that they're going to have a good season, like you have, you look at that as a positive thing. I'm leaning the other way, however. And when you talk about some of those sides that you've mentioned, the Jets, the Giants, the Raiders, you know, if you are a team of purpose, now I understand you're going with a relatively youngish quarterback who hasn't got a massive amount of experience, and so you chalk them in, you're very pleased that you've won games and the streak that they are on. I'd be a little concerned. I still have concerns over that offensive production. Now and again, they can just slip. Just from something and nothing, and an interception or a coughing up the ball or something like that from absolutely nowhere. And that's what championship sides don't necessarily do. I wouldn't call them fraudulent. I think that's really unfair. They're a highly skilled football team. They have got a young, talented quarterback. They have got pieces and weapons, and they've got that, significant defense. That said, do I think they have got what it takes to go through the playoffs, of which they don't have a huge amount of recent experience, and play against sort of hardened teams? You look at, the Bills, or a Baltimore Ravens team that we'll come to later. But if you look at those types of teams, a little bit more veteran in the ways of knockout football, I think they may come up short. I think there are, but then you look at the flip side of that. What's the other side with the best record in the NFL? Is it the New England Patriots, the one that I said, our dark horses?
I was going to say, you didn't pick them. You said dark horse.
I said they were dark horses, and they are, and they have proven me correct. That
11-2 is their record going into their bye week. But
they are demolishing teams. And they actually are putting, now, yes, their record is a little bit, the record has been a little bit easier. Their strength of schedule has been a little bit easier, have the New England Patriots, but they're doing what you're meant to do as a championship caliber team. I think it all adds to the narrative of a great NFL season. I think fraudulent is massively unfair for the Denver Broncos. And they say come this time of year, Richard, don't they? This time of year, it's defense that really steps up to the fore. And what do you think? I mean, you're the one that picked them. Are you confident in their ability to go all the way?
Look, I'm one of these people that's absolutely on board with the narrative of defense wins championships. Yeah. And this is the business end of the season. They've won 9 straight. And you look at that defense, ranked 5th overall, 9th against the pass, 5th in rushing, 4th in points allowed. They're only giving up 18.2 points a game. The defense are stepping up and playing their part in this team. I do have reservations about the offense. I thought this was a year we'd see Bo Nix kick on from his rookie season. I really liked the way he finished last year. I'm seeing a plateauing at the moment, and I don't like the way they beat the Commanders on Sunday night. It does give me cause for concern. But if they can gain home field advantage through the postseason, no one wants to go to Mile High, do they? So I'm confident enough right now with the Broncos. I do think they're still the team to beat in the AFC, especially when you look at the trials and tribulations of some of those more fancied teams in ahead of the season around them, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills, and so on. So I guess time will tell. But the next 4 or 5 weeks are big ones, not just for the Broncos, but for all those chasing down a berth in the postseason as well.
Just one more quick thing on that, mate. If you were to pick to lead into the playoffs, you've got Drake May or Bo Nix. Who you picking?
It's Drake May every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. You've got 2 second-year quarterbacks here, and this will upset some Broncos fans, I know, but just the eyeball test right now. Drake May is making the better decisions, he's seeing the field clearer, and he's playing all 4 quarters in games. I think from the play we've seen from Bo Nix this season. Every so often, there's a quarter he just seems to disappear. Yeah. And again, this is what feeds into the narrative for me of just having a couple of reservations about the Denver Broncos in an offensive capacity. Drake May, when you compare him with Bo Nix, no question for me. I'm starting Drake May ahead of Bo Nix right now. But it's about teams and it's about wins. And you can't argue with the record of either team right now. What you can argue with is the record of two of their AFC rivals, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Both have a 500 record. They stand at 6-6. And there is a huge game at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore this weekend between these two AFC South divisional rivals. The Ravens are heavy favourites, 5.5-point favourites coming into this game. I've got no doubt that's on the back of a hugely disappointing showing by Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers in their 26-7 loss to the Bills last weekend. But I don't see a lot to be excited about with the Ravens right now either, since Lamar Jackson came back from injury. We're told he's healthy. We're told he's fit and good to go. I'm not really seeing that in his play through the last two games.
No, nor am I. And you would have been an absolute fool to pick the Baltimore Ravens as your Super Bowl pick. Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I did. Do you know what? It's one of those games where I think both of these can both of the sides lose. Can the Steelers and the Ravens lose the same game?
That is a physical impossibility, Daggers.
It may be, but I don't have confidence in either. And that, I mean, okay, and it makes it an intriguing game. I don't know, it's probably too late, but the Bengals getting Joe Burrow back in the way that they actually played in the previous game, and top of my head, I can't remember who it was that they've just beaten.
The Baltimore Ravens.
It was the Ravens. And I just thought, God, if it had been another couple of weeks earlier, would the Bengals still be in with a shout of possibly actually winning the division? It seems like this is the division that no one wants to win at this moment in time. If the Cleveland Browns could have found themselves a quarterback, given that defense and what Myles Garrett is doing this year, they could have been in with a shout. It is a division no one wants to win. Pittsburgh were relatively lame offensively. Their defense looks old. It looks a step a yard too short. The TJ Watt, the tackles that he should and has been making in the past, he doesn't seem to be making those similar kinds of play. Cam Hayward is also getting on as well. They look an aging team. And they don't have any fizz and any spark, and Aaron Rodgers has got very, very few people to throw to. People were making a big song and dance about Darnell Washington, the enormous tight end that Pittsburgh have got, along with Frymouth and DK Metcalf. But outside of that, you're asking Jalen Warren to carry a huge load. I don't see where Baltimore have got a great deal to be optimistic about as well. Lamar doesn't look like Lamar. He's not making those plays with his legs. They just seem off. Now, do I think if I was to put the two teams side by side, player for player, I would argue that I would lean towards the Baltimore Ravens. I think player for player, they have better weapons. They're just off at this, and have been off for quite some time. Defensively, earlier on in the season, people were running all over them. They were running and passing all over them. So it's a really tough one to call this, Richard. I think I go player for player. I lean with the Baltimore Ravens and the fact that they are also at home. But we are getting to A-Lads A for both of these sides. And could the division be on the line this weekend?
Well, let me address a couple of those points. I, for one, am not willing to rule out the Cincinnati Bengals at this stage, purely because the Ravens and the Steelers have been so average. And you look at the run-in for the Bengals now. They go to Buffalo this weekend. Tough game. Can they get a win? If they do, well, look who they've got next week. The team they beat last week. The Ravens have to come to their house, and then it's at Miami, it's home to the Cardinals, and you finish up at home to the Cleveland Browns. So is there a scenario whereby if they get past Buffalo this weekend, they can run the table? Hell yes, there is. And then they've got to 9 wins. Yeah. And you look at the Steelers and the Ravens, one of those two teams is going to lose this weekend. And then the Ravens have got to go to Cincinnati. Well, if the Bengals win that game, they've swept Baltimore. And suddenly all bets are off at that point. What I will say in favor of the Ravens, to your point, their defense hasn't been great this season, but that defeat to Cincinnati last week snapped a 5-game winning streak for them when their defense had played better. Yet they gave up 32 points to the Bengals. Again, there's mitigating circumstances because I don't know what was on that ball when the Ravens had it on offense, but it must have been like a bar of soap because they couldn't handle it. Isaiah Likely spilling it through the back of the end zone. Lamar Jackson coughing it up in the red zone and then in his own red zone as well. Zay Flowers coughing up the ball. So I think if you're part of that Ravens defense last week, I know everybody's saying, it's the comeback king from Joe Burrow and his sparks lit a fire up inside this Bengals organization. Well, the Ravens, you only have to look in your own house because you only really have yourselves to blame in that game.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what to make of the Ravens. I do know that I don't rate the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers was doing his old Aaron Rodgers trick post-game at the weekend, pointing the finger seemingly at everybody else bar him. He's not fully fit. He's got that broken left hand at the moment. And yet, do I trust the Ravens to be able to cover the 5.5 point spread? Do I trust the Steelers to keep it close? The answer to both those questions, frankly, is no. Over the course of the year, these are two bad defenses. So do you know what? The spread for winning, I'm going to push to one side. I'm going to do what I did with the Jets and Falcons last week, Daggers, and say, what's the line on total points? And the line is 43 dead. Well, in previous years when these two teams were good, these would be tight, close games, low scoring. These aren't two good teams anymore. You look at what the Steelers are doing, and they manage 23.5 points a game. Only 2 of their last 7 games has the total line of points been below 44. Then equally, you look at the Ravens.
I just don't see where the Steelers are scoring, and that's a real issue. I don't see how that offense, when you don't have a plethora of weapons for Aaron Rodgers, as you say, who is not fit. There is no fluidness to their offense.
How about if I turn around to you and say that the 2025 Baltimore Ravens are in the bottom half in the league in every major defensive category? Overall defense, passing defense, rushing defense. They're giving up 21 points a game. I'm going to go first on this, and I'm going to look at that total points line. And like last week with the Jets and the Falcons, I'm going over. What say you?
Spread's 43?
43 on the nose.
It really is a tough one. I can also see a real sort of grind out type of run fest with Pittsburgh because Jalen Warren's still a decent player and Derrick Henry can still roll the rock. There's no cohesiveness to either of these two sides. Does that lend itself to a real low-scoring game or a complete blitz on scoring? I'm going to lean with you on this one, in that both of these defenses, I think, have been found wanting. I really do. Like you say, I realise it's not Joe Burrow playing against the Ravens, it's Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. But 43, what's that, a 21-20 type of game? Yeah, I'm just going to lean over that. Do
you know, for a second, I thought we were going to have a divergence of opinions.
No. Just when you add all the points, I think a 20-20 game, just over that. Yeah, I think these two can pull that off.
And do you know what's good about having a line that says 43, Daggers? It means we could tie for a third pick this season. I'll leave that one to marinate slowly with you. Before we look ahead to 2 more games from this Week 14 slate, we'll be back after these short messages.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Okay, welcome back to Graves on Gridiron. We have looked at that big AFC South battle, the Steelers at the Ravens. During the break, Daggers has refreshed his larynx with a quick swig of some well-known soft drink that we won't publicise anywhere else. But we're going to crack on from the AFC North to the NFC South. Those 2-10 New Orleans Saints travel to Florida to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lead the division 7-5. It'll come as no surprise to everyone that given the record of the Saints this year, the odds makers say, give me the Buccaneers and give me them by 2 scores. They're 8.5-point favourites coming into this game. But the Buccaneers have just come off a losing skid. That was their first win in 4 last weekend when they beat the Cardinals. So how confident is Charles Dagnall now? And are we still baking, baby?
We're always baking. And you know what? And we've said this. I'm quite a sort of philosophical. I look at my own side pretty neutrally. I really do. And there's lots and lots of things I like about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a fan. You know, we've had little spurts of greatness where we won the Super Bowl, you know, and there was 20 years of absolute dire horribleness in between, and there was 20 years of dire horribleness prior to when winning the Super Bowl for the first time. And I look at us now, and I love what Jason Light has done, the GM. I love that so many of his draft picks are still with the Buccaneers. They've developed their own players. They you know, there's a huge percentage of Buccaneers players that were ones that he drafted. It'll be something like 42 or 43 of the 53-man roster have been drafted by Tampa Bay. I like that as a fan. I really do. I like that we're competitive. I know it's not a good division. It really isn't, okay?
Doesn't matter.
But I like that we're relevant all the time and have been for the last sort of 4, 5, 6 seasons. I like that we're relevant and I like that we're combative. And you know what? We go to other people and we do give them a good game if they're better than us. And there are sides that are better than us, but we give them a good game. And we're entertaining to watch. We've got players that are genuine playmakers and they're entertaining to watch. Yes, they can frustrate you defensively sometimes. You know what? I wish we had a pass rush. You know, we don't have a very good pass rush. I wish that was better. You know, but outside of that, it's quite a good time to be a Bucks fan, I think, at the moment. The only thing I will say, Richard, is this. Is that we stay competitive, yes, but we're in a lot of games that we shouldn't necessarily be in against weaker opposition. I look at the Cardinals. Now, I actually like what Jacoby Brissett has brought to the Cardinals this year, and you know, that record-breaking number of completions he had in a defeat. He's done all right, you know. I think they look better under him than they do under Kyler Murray.
100%.
So much better. But these are games that, you know, you think the Bucks should be winning this by 10, and you know, it's 7:32 left in the fourth quarter, and the Cardinals are driving, and you're like, hang on a second, we should have put this game away.
Were you nervous, Staggers? Yeah. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah. But they managed to eke out victories, and they keep games close, which is why I'm a little bit wary of this 8.5-point favourite tag that the Bucks have got, because if you look at the games that they've played this year, they've been a lot of close games. Some they've won, some they've lost, but and you know, they were competitive against everybody but recently the Rams, you know, who really put the hurt on them in that back end of a losing streak. So am I surprised they went to the Rams and got beaten? No. Rams are great, really good team, and they're kind of better than us. But Bucks have started getting players back, and that has made a difference. Bucky Irving got his first proper outing for a long time, 60-odd yards, a couple of catches and a touchdown, and that's great. You know, managing his workload towards the back end of the season. I think the Bucks are going to win the division. They've got Carolina twice. I think they've got Carolina twice.
They do?
Yeah, and New Orleans once. They've got Atlanta once at home. They've got a relatively easy run-in.
The other game's at Miami, so you'd say that they're through the hard part of their schedule.
Tough period, and I think they're going to win the division. I think they're still better than Carolina, even though Carolina had a great victory over the Rams last week, and that was great fun to watch. I mean, really good fun to watch. And I'm pleased the Carolina Panthers are actually, again, relevant, and good on Dave Canales, former Tampa Bay offensive coordinator. You know, he left the right way. He wanted to go and head coach, and I don't think you can blame him for doing that. And I'm really, really pleased that he's managed to turn the Carolina Panthers season around. I am
loving this love that you're able to show a divisional rival when you're sat there on your perch at the top.
I don't think the same about Liam Cohen. I think he left appallingly, and the manner that he left Tampa Bay to go to Jacksonville. But they're not in our division, so we'll see you once every 4 years, Cohen. That said, That said, I think New Orleans, they are desperately struggling. They again have become a little bit more competitive defensively. They're okay. They're sort of midway defensively. I think they're fifth against the pass, but they're not great against the run. And I think that is where Tampa Bay will attack them at home this week through Bucky Irving, through Rashad White, through names escape me. It'll come to me, Sean.
We'll come back to him. I'm sure you'll come because I don't know who you're talking about.
I'm number 44. What's his damn name?
Well,
he'll come back to me. Anyway,
this is what I will tell you. Yes, they're okay defensively. Offensively, this is a frankly woeful outfit. They're now on Tyler Shuff as quarterback, but overall, number 26 ranked offense. 29th when it comes to running the ball. They're giving up 30 points again. They're 30th against the pass, and they've already given up 19 takeaways, 19 giveaways, turnovers, however you want to term it, this season. So I don't see them, Daggers, having anything that can cause you problems. You've already been to New Orleans. You beat them by 20. I know it was a back and forth game for the opening half, but you ran away to it towards the end. They've lost 4 of their last 7 by at least 12 points. They've only won 1 of 7. Now, fine, that was an anomaly given the way the Panthers have played because it was at Carolina. I think the Buccaneers are going to have to almost hand this game to the Saints if they're going to win it. If you play a clean game, if Baker doesn't turn it over, if you don't cough up the ball, I think you win this moving away with maybe 15 minutes still to go. I'm going to be honest, front up right now. The 8.5 point spread, you're at home. I think you take care of business. I think you've been through the tough part of the schedule, and I think this is where the real Baker Mayfield, the real Buccaneers show up. I was high on you through the first 2 months of the season before the injuries hit. Now you're getting healthy again. I'm high on you once.
We are getting healthy. Having Chris Godwin back as well, the fantastic rookie, Emeka Egbuka. Sean Tucker was the person I was looking at.
There we go.
Running back. I told you, number 44, Sean, and Sean Tucker is he. It's a lot of points.
Full disclosure, I am not so familiar with your roster that I can go all the way to number 3 in the depth chart.
I couldn't give you Dallas's either, in fairness. But he had a 100-yard game a couple of games ago and looked really, really good. I'm just worried about this 8.5 point spread. A 9-point and Bucks have a history of just keeping things close where they shouldn't necessarily. Baker's not fully fit. He's still got that left shoulder problem, and I think they'll win. I think they'll win actually comfortably. Might the Bucks give up some garbage time points to keep the spread a little bit closer? I can see that happening as well. Tyler Shuck getting something going. I don't think Tyler Shuck has been as bad as people think. I really don't. I think there is something there, and he's
I think they showed character last week in coming from 16 down, but that's the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
I think Todd Bowles, he's known for his defensive packages. I think he unleashes the hounds this weekend.
The only problem is he's having to rush all of his cornerbacks and safeties and stuff because we've got no pass rush, and that leaves them open at the backside. I do like the young corners the Bucks have got, but having to deal with Chris Olave and that's difficult for them. I'm going to differ with you. Just because I'm massively pessimistic. I'm still optimistic the Bucks will win, but I don't think they're going to win as big as you do.
We've been here before on this show, Daggers, when I have shown faith in your Buccaneers, and you've said, don't be so silly, Graves. Yeah. And I have been proven right. I will be proven right again. 8.5 point favourites, the Buccaneers. They win, and they cover that, say I. Daggers says, well, we're going to put the fans through the ringer. They'll win, but it'll be by 3 points.
I'll just take a win. That's fine.
Okay.
Chase McLaughlin field goal with time expiring.
Oh. It's one to look forward to, Bucks fans. Let's move on to the final game then of 3 from the Week 14 slate. And it's a mouth-watering one, and I'm not quite sure what to expect. The 8-4 NFC East leading Philadelphia Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles, travel across the country to the 8-4 LA Chargers, and I've had to look twice at this line. The Eagles on the road are 3-point favourites despite coming into this game on the back of a 2-game losing skid. I've got a question for you, Daggers. What has happened to the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well,
you go back just 10 days ago, and they were 41, 42 minutes from wrapping up the NFC East title in Dallas. They were home and hosed, 21-0 up, game over. The Cowboys are then allowed to reel off 24 unanswered points. They lose that, and then they back it up on Black Friday by not just losing at home to the Bears. The Bears were the better team in that game.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now, the Eagles are only 1.5 games ahead of the Cowboys, and everything's in the air. So what is going on?
Isn't it funny? You know, you heard the cacophony of boos that were ringing round Lincoln Financial Field against it.
Even Santa left early.
He did as well. Maybe he's busy at this time of year. Who knows? But is there a worse team to watch at this moment in time than the Philadelphia Eagles? Goodness me, it's like, it really is like.
Here's some numbers for you, Daggers.
Watching that offense.
Overall offense, ranked 24, 23rd in passing offense, 22nd when it comes to running the ball, and they're 19th in points scored, 22.5 points a game. In their last 4 games, they beat the Packers, scoring 10 points. They beat the Lions, scoring 16 points. They lost to the Cowboys, scoring 21. They lost at home to the Bears, scoring just 15. Now, I'm no rocket scientist, but quick maths tells me that's 67 points in 4 games.
But one thing it does tell you is that, as we have said previously on this podcast and this episode of the podcast, when it comes down to the business end of seasons, defenses, it comes to the fore. And so there's nothing wrong with their defense at this moment in time. There really isn't. I have no problems on.
I need to correct myself. I did say I was no rocket scientist. It's actually 62.
62. There you go. Nor a mathematician.
No.
And so I don't worry about them defensively, but this is what I can't fathom, Richard. I've got, as my X and Z receivers, I've got Devontae Smith. I've got A.J. Brown. I've got Dallas Goedert as my tight end. I've got Saquon Barkley as my running back. And you can't move the ball. And you've got this offensive line, which has been well lauded throughout the last 3 or 4 years as one of being one of the strongest and toughest and meanest and maraudingest types of offensive lines. I think I've just made up a word as well. Anyway, be that as it may.
It sounded good.
Yeah. Well, I ain't no rocket scientist. And so in that instance, I don't understand. Is it the play calling? It was interesting. I was watching that Eagles game against the Cowboys. And then a lot of stuff came up on social media, as it does, but the analytical side of things, which I like, coaches or pundits watching the all 22 of it. And the amount of open receivers Jalen Hurts was missing, or just not seeing, or not comfortable with. And maybe, like I say, it's a little bit of a confidence thing. I don't know. This is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. You shouldn't be there. You should be spotting some of the things. They, again, is one of these sides that offensively just look off. Now, we talked about the Baltimore Ravens, and they as a team seem off. I just don't know what's going on with that offense and actually where the blame lies. Is it the quarterback? Is it the play calling? Is it just the playmakers within that who are causing ructions? I don't know, and I don't know what the answer is for them. It just almost feels like they just need to let loose, just hang it loose and start throwing some deep balls, letting those great receivers make contested catches. You know, A.J. Brown, I think there's few in the league as good as contesting catches for a big-bodied receiver like him. Just let him loose a little bit. Break the shackles.
Well, here's backing up what you were saying there. This season, they've returned 10 of 11 starters on offense. There isn't a team in the National Football League that is spending a higher portion of its salary cap on offensive players right now than the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts was the Super Bowl MVP last season. They slapped around the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 59 on the way to lifting that Lombardi trophy. Saquon Barkley, fresh off the back of a 2,000-yard scrimmage season. This season, he's not averaging 4 yards carry. He cannot get going. Bizarrely, against the Cowboys, they didn't even try and run the ball between the tackles. It wasn't they couldn't. They didn't even try to do so. And then, of course, against the Bears on Black Friday, for Chicago to go in there with a second-year quarterback in Caleb Williams and handle Philadelphia in the manner they did, I found that astonishing.
Really agree. I agree.
And all of a sudden, in the back of my mind, and this may be unfair, I'm having flashbacks to, I've seen this story before. The season before last, when they lost 6 of their 5, they started the season 10-1 and lost 6 of their last 7 games inexplicably. And so you've gone from all of Philadelphia wanting everything to be torn up to loving Nick Sirianni and his coaching crew last season as they win the Super Bowl, to now uproar in Philadelphia again. And you're not telling me that every member of that Eagles locker room is managing to shut that out. I'm not buying it. They're aware of it. They're feeling it. And now you have to go cross country to face the LA Chargers.
I also, though, wonder, let's say Dallas are 8-4. They're 8-4. They're leading the division. They were 10-1, yes, and leading the division, and then they went on that slide 2 years ago. Okay. But they're still 8-4, and they still have that defense. And so, of course, they are going to be, even if things are not necessarily gelling on offense at the moment, goodness knows why. Like I say, with all the players we've mentioned, I would love to have some of those players. Don't know why, but their defense at least is consistent. And when you hold Detroit and you hold Green Bay to minimal totals offensively, you've got something good going. But your offense is going to have to, you can't just rely on that. The offense is going to have to put points on the board somewhere. And against the Los Angeles Chargers side, where, again, I wonder about them as well. What side are they? They've demolished and they got back to winning ways against the Las Vegas Raiders. But it's the Las Vegas Raiders. They suck. I mean, they really do. They just are dreadful. And, it's great that they came back and won, and they've got so many injuries, especially on the offensive line. The Chargers must have gone through so many offensive linemen. And had they had a fully fit complement of offensive linemen, I think their record would be better than actually what it is. Jim Harbaugh, even though he's a pound the rock, run first guy, is allowed Justin Herbert to be Justin Herbert this year. And that is great news for Chargers fans, because the guy has got all of those intangibles. He's got the arm strength, he's got the accuracy, he's got the pause and the control, and he sees the field brilliantly. But I don't know what side the Los Angeles Chargers are. Are they a side that goes deep in the playoffs? Have they got the wherewithal to attack? I think they've got the right head coach in place. They've got so many pieces in place, but I still can't tell you what kind of side they are.
Well, this is why I like what I'm seeing from the LA Chargers, because you rightly mentioned there the number of injuries they had. They lost both their running backs, and suddenly you've got Vidal that's become the bell cow, and he's running at 4.5 yards per carry. They've got all these injuries again, and yet they've won 4 of their last 5 games. The one blemish, that disappointing performance out there in Jacksonville leading into their bye week, which was 11 games into the season, the bye week came. So they bounced back last week from the bye week by handling the Raiders. They're back on home turf again this week. Justin Herbert had the issue with his hand, but he's had an operation apparently on Monday, but we're told he's going to be good to go this weekend. And he's got that extra day, of course, because this is the Monday Night Football game this week. And you refer to the Philadelphia Eagles and rightly say, look, they held the Lions, they held the Packers, and they are the 9th best team when it comes to points allowed this season, giving up a lick under 21 a game. But listen to these other stats. And this is why I think this has been a dam waiting to burst for the Philadelphia Eagles. You cannot move the ball. You cannot score the ball on offense. And defensively, although they've been playing bend but don't break, This is a unit which ranks 25th in overall defense this season, 19th against the pass, 24th against the run. What do Jim Harbaugh sides like to run the ball? And I've mentioned he's on his third string running back, and he's still running the ball this year. I said I've had flashbacks, and this is going to be a tell-me game right now. If the Eagles lose on Monday night, watch out, all bets are off. I'm not touching the Eagles with a barge pole. If they win, fine, they steady the ship, they move to 9-4, and suddenly all nerves are calmed. But if you're telling me on the back of the two performances we've seen so far that you are giving the hometown Chargers a 3-point start, I'm not buying it. I don't want any part of it. Give me the LA Chargers at +3.
Yeah, and I've got to go with you on that as well. Going across country, vibes are not necessarily good. They've, again, not long off the bye of the Los Angeles Chargers, and I don't know what operation one could possibly have to any part of your body that gets you back into a week. Why was that not available during my cricket career? I might have played a few more games. Having said that, if Justin Herbert's good to go, then great news for the Chargers. I think this game tells us about both sides. I really do. I think 100%. It tells us about both sides and where they are and what we can then expect going forward into playoff territory. I worry for the Philadelphia Eagles about those Cowboys. I really do. I think they are the hottest team in football right now. I know we talk about the 10-2 Denver Broncos and the 10-2 New England Patriots, but I think the most dangerous side is the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, since you mentioned that, Daggers, and I wasn't going there because we don't preview Thursday night games on this podcast, but I'm going to give you a bonus snapshot prediction because let's talk about the Cowboys going up to Detroit, Thursday night football. If you're listening to this podcast before the game, you'll love it. If not, you'll already know the result. And between us, Daggers and I will either look like geniuses or complete idiots. However, the Cowboys are 3-point underdogs, I think I'm right in saying, going on the road to Detroit. They've come out of their bye week. They're 3-0 since the bye week. They easily handled the Raiders. They came from 21-0 down in what people were calling a career game from Dak Prescott. 5 days later, he trumps that by taking on the best version of Patrick Mahomes on Thanksgiving Day and out-dueling him, beating him. Listen to these stats. Patrick Mahomes in his career, when he has a passer rating of 129, before Thanksgiving Day was 20-1. In his career, when he had a passer rating of 125 with no interceptions, he was 23-0. Well, he did both of those things on Thanksgiving Day, and Prescott and the Cowboys still found a way to win 31-28. If the Cowboys can run the table and make it to the Super Bowl, no, make it to the playoffs. Easy. Does anybody want to face them?
Look, I wouldn't want to face that. I say they're the hottest team, and this is really hard for me to say, given it's you that I'm talking to. But I think they've got going up to Detroit. They're 3-point underdogs, right? This is a Detroit side that when Jared Goff's put under pressure, he is. And I like Jared Goff. I think he's done wonders up there for that franchise, helping them, and Dan Campbell turning it around for a perennial loser to one that, is fantastic and really galvanised the city. That said, you put him under a bit of pressure, which the Dallas Cowboys can now do. Those two defensive tackles taking up maybe 3 or 4 offensive linemen, they're that good. And so that leaves other spots open. You're going to have to max protect Jared Goff if he's throwing the ball. Yes, they've still got top... I mean, it's going to be a great game. I'm really looking forward to the game. Can't wait for the game. But I don't want to play the Dallas Cowboys. I think the wind is with them. I think they really have got a small... When you have that door ajar, just with what's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles, I think that really does filter through a locker room. And I think it is doing for the Dallas Cowboys. And so... I can't wait for them to play on Thursday night, but I just have a sneaky suspicion that they're going to be there. They're going to be, and I don't want to face them in the playoffs. I really don't. When they've got the ability to put up the numbers that they have, and when they're cooking, goodness me, the rhythm of that offense is fabulous. Offensive linemen coming.
I don't think anybody questions the offense with Dak playing at that level he's done throughout the course of this season, by the way. George Pickens, for me, whether you like the Cowboys or not, he is the steal of the year. A third-round pick for George Pickens. Are you kidding me?
Great pickup. I'm not sure who I give the credit to because I'm loath to give it to Jerry Jones, but damn it. There he goes.
I don't care.
But what I've got to say is, I have to say, they're great to watch. They really are. They're fun to watch. And
I will say this, for all the talk about the offense, it is the trade deadline additions of Quinn and Williams on that defensive line. 7th round pick to Cincinnati for Logan Wilson has made a massive difference at linebacker. Then you add in returning players, Demarion Overshone, who runs sideline to sideline. The rookie, Siobhan Revell, who was a 3rd round pick because of an injury with a 1st round grade. He's held up against both the Eagles and the Chiefs as well. So, look, I can't look past the Dallas Cowboys. And frankly, I don't care who you put in front of them at the moment. If they're playing at the level we've seen over the last week and a half, give me Dallas. And with 3 points, I'm snapping your hand off. Okay, let's recap the games. That was bonus coverage, just because Daggers wanted to mention Dallas, which, I'm happy to do any time. We start with the Steelers and Ravens. Total points line for this is 43. We're both going over on that one. Then it's the Saints and Buccaneers. You've got to believe in your own team, Daggers, and I'm worried about you at this point.
I do believe in our own team. I do believe in my team. I just don't believe that they're going to beat the spread, but I believe they're going to win the game.
Well, the spread has them heavy favourites, 8.5-point favourites. I say give me the 8.5 and then some. I'm taking the Bucks. Daggers says not so fast. With my 0-5-1 record this season, I'm going under.
I've got to come good sooner or later, Rich.
And then we finish off Monday Night Football in the City of Angels, Los Angeles. The Chargers hosting the Eagles. The Chargers are 3-point dogs at home. Well, I like what I've seen from the Chargers. Give me the Chargers at +3. We always say, Daggers, don't we, at this point? Remember, first and foremost, folks, it's about enjoyment, having fun. This is just something to build up to the game coverage we'll see on Sunday and Monday. So keep that in mind. Daggers, as always, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. No doubt we'll do it again when we hit playoff time. So if I don't see you before, have a great Christmas. And
you too.
And I want to hear one phrase from you. Just give me one phrase.
One phrase? Let's bake, baby! Let's bake!
There we go! That's what I'm talking about. Daggers wants to bake. I'll give you how about them Cowboys.
Happy Christmas.
Let's see you in week 15, folks. So long, everybody.
Subscribe to Graves on Gridiron wherever you listen to podcasts.
And keep up to date with the latest on Twitter. Search for Richard Graves 1.
That's Richard Graves, the number 1.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.